We all have it. That one box in the back of the closet that feels heavy. Not because of its weight, but because of the memories inside. You want to sort through your lifetime of photos, but every time you open the lid, you feel overwhelmed, or worse, guilty. Maybe it's not even your own box. Maybe it's your mother's or your grandmother's, passed down to you with a quiet, unspoken instruction. Don't lose this. That weight is real, and today we're going to lift it together. Today, we're changing that. We aren't just decluttering paper, we are building your legacy box. I'm going to show you how to rescue your best stories from the clutter trap using a simple 10-minute method that honors your past without stealing your present. This isn't about throwing your history away. It's about finally giving it a place to live, where it can be seen instead of sitting in the dark. Step 1, the 1-inch rule. The biggest mistake? Trying to do it all at once. Instead, we use the 1-inch rule. Pick up just 1 inch of photos. That's it. If you try to sort the whole box, your brain will get tired in 20 minutes. 1 inch is a victory you can finish before your tea gets cold. I think about my friend's grandmother, Eleanor, who's 86. She told me she'd been meaning to sort the photos for 11 years. 11 years of guilt just sitting on a shelf. The day she tried the 1-inch rule, she finished her first stack in 9 minutes. She called her granddaughter that same afternoon, laughing, asking if she remembered the dress she wore to her own wedding. That's the power of 1 inch. It turns a mountain into a molehill, and a molehill into a memory you actually get to enjoy. Step 2, the legacy filter. Now, as you look at each photo, ask yourself one question. Does this tell a story someone will want to hear in 50 years? We often keep photos of people we don't remember or landscapes we can't identify. If it doesn't have a soul or a story, it doesn't belong in the legacy box. A woman named Pat, who joined one of our sorting sessions last year, found a photo of a stranger standing in front of a diner. No name, no date, nothing on the back. She almost felt bad letting it go, like she was erasing someone. But here's the truth. A photo without a story isn't a memory. It's just paper. Letting it go isn't disrespectful. It's honest. It makes room for the photos that do have a soul, like the one she found right after it, of her own mother at 19, laughing so hard she'd closed her eyes. That photo made the cut immediately. The legacy filter also works on the photos that almost made you feel guilty for keeping in the first place. Sometimes it's not a stranger, but a relative you barely knew, like a great uncle who passed before you were born. You don't need to know every detail of his life to know whether the photo has a soul. Ask the filter question and trust your gut. If something in you softens when you look at it, it stays. If nothing happens at all, it's allowed to go. Step 3, be savage with duplicates. Remember Grandma's savage decluttering rules? We're applying them here. You don't need 4 photos of the same 1984 birthday cake. Pick the one where the faces are clearest and let the others go. You aren't throwing away the memory, you're making the best one shine. I want to tell you about Carol, a retired school teacher who came to this process kicking and screaming, in her words. She had 9 photos of her daughter's 6th birthday party, all slightly blurry, all almost identical. For years, she kept all 9 because choosing felt like betrayal. But once she lined them up side by side, the choice became obvious. One photo had her daughter's whole face, lit up, candle smoke still curling in the air. The other 8 were just noise. Carol kept one and recycled the rest, and she told me it felt like finally hearing the photo clearly, instead of through static. That's what being savage with duplicates really does. It's not subtraction, it's focus. This is the most important part. Flip that legacy photo over and write one sentence. Not just Christmas 1972, but the year the dog knocked over the tree. That one sentence turns a piece of paper into a family treasure. A woman in our community named Dorothy, who's 91, started doing this with photos from the 1950s. On the back of one, instead of a date, she wrote, "The morning I decided not to marry him after all." Nothing more, no explanation. Her great-granddaughter found that photo years later and called Dorothy in tears, begging to hear the rest of the story. That's what one sentence can do. It doesn't answer every question. It just opens a door and lets the people who come after you knock on it. Another woman, Margaret, wrote on the back of her mother's photo simply, "She taught me to bake bread with her hands, never a recipe." That sentence is now framed in her kitchen. One sentence and a photo becomes a whole inheritance. In Japan, there is a word we've talked about before, Mottainai. It's about not wasting the essence of a thing. A photo hidden in a dark, dusty box is being wasted. By picking the best and sharing the story, you are finally giving those memories the respect they deserve. I think of Mottainai every time I hear about women like Helen, who ran her family's farm for 40 years and kept every photo of every harvest in a shoebox under her bed. When her daughter finally sat down with her to sort through it, Helen wasn't just preserving paper. She was finally letting someone else carry a little of what she'd carried alone for decades. That's the real gift of this process. It's not just tidiness. It's transferring the weight of memory from one set of shoulders to many, so no single person has to hold it all forever. I want to say something directly to the women watching this, who are the keepers in their families. The ones who became the unofficial archivists, often without ever being asked. So many of you inherited boxes from your mothers, who inherited them from their mothers. A woman named Ruth told me her box held photos going back to her great-grandmother, a woman she never met, in a country she'd never visited. Ruth said she felt like a guard standing watch over strangers. But once she applied the legacy filter, she realized she wasn't guarding strangers at all. She was the last person alive who could give them a story. So she did, one sentence at a time. And now her grandchildren know not just faces, but who those women actually were. If that's you, if you're the keeper, I want you to know you're not just managing clutter. You're doing the quiet work of keeping people remembered. Step 5. Where the legacy box lives. Once you've gathered your best photos and written your one-sentence stories, you need a real home for them. Not the original heavy box, but something smaller, something honored. A simple shoebox lined with nice paperworks. So does a proper archival box from a craft store. The point isn't the container. The point is that it's small enough to actually open again and inviting enough that someone will want to. I know a woman, Joan, who turned her legacy box into a tradition. Every Thanksgiving, she pulls out 3 photos at random and asks everyone at the table to guess the story. Her grandchildren now look forward to it more than the pie. That's a box doing its job. Which photo category is the hardest for you to sort? Is it the kids' school years or the old travel photos? Or maybe, like so many of you watching, it's your mother's or grandmother's photos, the ones that feel like they're not entirely yours to sort. I hear from so many women in their 60s, 70s, and 80s who say the hardest box isn't even their own life. It's the one they inherited, filled with people they're supposed to recognize, but don't quite. If that's you, you are not alone in this, and there is no deadline on figuring it out. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to help you work through it. You don't have to do it all today. Just 1 inch. 1 photo, 1 sentence, 1 small act of honoring someone who came before you. I'll see you in the next one.